Uni Rally, also known as Uni Races in the US, no idea why, was the second game to use the advanced computer modelling for 3D rendered sprites on the Super Nintendo. As you can see, it doesn't look anywhere near as good as Donkey Kong Country. In fact, you might say the graphics in Uni Rally are kind of crap. But they do what they need to do, and I like how the little unicycles have a lot of personality. It's a side-scrolling racing game with unicycles, an odd concept to be sure. It was made by those wacky Scottish guys, DMA, who would eventually find ridiculous amounts of fame making games about criminals, grand something or other. Anyway, in Uni Rally, stunts equals speed. Every time you do a stunt, your unicycle just goes that little bit faster. So not only is it about reaching the finish line before the other guy, it's about performing as many stunts as you can whenever you get the chance without wiping out. Uni Rally looks like a really basic game, and it is. But it can get addictive, and it's great fun discovering all the different stunt combinations by mixing and matching while you're flying through the air. It's clever the way you can tell what's coming up by the colour of the track. Green and blue is just normal, where you can go nuts on the stunts. Red and blue means there's a hill or an obstacle coming up. Red and yellow means there's going to be paint coming up on the tracks, and yellow and blue means the finish line's in sight. Good players always keep their eyes on the track colours to stay in the game. You know, I hadn't actually played this game in years, and it was great fun to come back to. I'd forgotten how to do a lot of the stunts, and then I had to discover them all over again, but yeah, I had a bit of fun. I do reckon it's probably way too simplistic for 2012 audiences though, so I'll say it sits. The Story of Thor is an adventure RPG, the closest thing the Mega Drive had to a Zelda or a Seiken Densetsu. It's very strange that it's called The Story of Thor, since the main character's name is Ali. Admittedly, I didn't make it all the way to the end of the game, but as far as I could tell, there's no one in this game called Thor, so the title is a total mystery to me. As you can see, the opening cutscene looks great. Generally the graphics are pretty nice, and they're cartoony in an almost Disney kind of way. The story is pretty much bleh, though, which is a shame. You are Prince Ali.
Prince Ali, fabulous he, Ali Ababa.
Yeah. He finds a magical golden armlet in the game's intro, which leads him to go on an adventure to resurrect elementals, spirits and temples, yada yada yada. I know games back then weren't renowned for their ingenious prose, but the Story of Thor treads a pretty easy and cliched path. What it all adds up to is an overhead adventure game where you visit dungeons filled with devious puzzles and collect X number of X items to achieve X result. Ali himself is animated pretty well, but he moves annoyingly slowly. And even though he has got a dash move with a double tap, it's not as easy to control as it should be. Just hurry up! Dungeons generally work a la Zelda. For example, kill all the enemies to proceed to the next room, or hit the switch to stop something, etc, etc. I noticed that some enemies are pretty much carbon copied straight out of the Zelda series as well. Check this out. The weapons are interesting. You've got your standard dagger, which you can use as much as you want, but the other weapons that you pick up only have a certain number of uses before they break, so you should only pull them out at the right moment when you need them. Eventually you can find unbreakable versions of the other weapons, but they're pretty tough to get. Another thing that Ali collects are the 4 summons. They can help with healing, attacking, crossing chasms, that kind of thing. The weird thing is, you need to touch a particular element with your magic armband to summon that spirit, so you can't actually use the water spirit to heal you unless you're near some water. It's an interesting idea, but in practice, I've found it annoying. The game is definitely at its worst though when it's trying to be an overhead platformer. It's horrendously inaccurate, and some sections I would suggest are impossible.
So here's this giant enemy crab.
All up, The Story of Thor is a decent action RPG that stands pretty steadily as Sega's answer to Zelda or Mana, and even though it doesn't come close to topping either of these masterpieces, it still stands fairly well as a decent 16-bit adventure. But honestly, in 2012 I can't imagine who would want to play through this with all of its frustrations and annoyances when there's so many other games of the same genre that are much, much better. So it sits. And speaking of adventures, next week I'm off to discover what the illusion of time is, or the illusion of Gaia, or one or the other, whichever one you want. See you then. Peace out!